To our former Senator De Lima, may I please ask a question to you as a former Justice Secretary? Can you please enlighten us why there are so few cases?
Malinaw, maraming EJKs. Malinaw, maraming summary executions. Now, report ho dati, I think in one of the hearings, I read it sa news na by the now Solgen Menardo Guevara, they actually just prioritized 52 cases. So, nung panahon ko po, ang focus namin ay yung mga killings ng mga activists. Kasi konti lang naman yung mga drug war killings noon, halos wala hong ganon. The magnitude was not of the same, not the same as nung pumasok na nga po si Mr. Duterte na biglang lumobo yung mga drug war killings.
Mga in-invite natin supposedly ng mga resource persons, halimbawa nga si former President Rodrigo Duterte at former PNP Chief Bato de la Rosa. No?
So, to our former Senator De Lima, may I please ask a question to you as a former Justice Secretary? Can you please enlighten us why there are so few cases filed and prosecuted against perpetrators of the EJK? Does this mean that there are only few cases of EJK in this country during the Duterte administration?
Not at all. There were a lot of EJKs. But the figures of the DOJ, the ones I cited earlier, and perhaps the representatives from DOJ can confirm that or deny that, as the case may be, ay malinaw, maraming EJKs. Malinaw, maraming summary executions. Now, report ho dati, I think in one of the hearings, I read it sa news na by the now Solgen Menardo Guevara, they actually just prioritized 52 cases. Malinaw, maraming EJKs. Malinaw, maraming summary executions. Now, report ho dati, I think in one of the hearings, I read it sa news na by the now Solgen Menardo Guevara, they actually just prioritized 52 cases. And then as it turns out, yung 52 cases nga, meron din mga na-dismiss pa. So there could be various reasons. What I know is that there's this existing mechanism, the AO35 teams. It's still existing. I was actually the one who came up with that idea of coming up with that interagency committee to address extralegal killings. Although nung panahon ko po, ang focus namin ay yung mga killings ng mga activists. Kasi konti lang naman yung mga drug war killings noon, halos wala hong ganon. The magnitude was not of the same, not the same as nung pumasok na nga po si Mr. Duterte na biglang lumobo yung mga drug war killings. I wasn't there already with the DOJ when the drug war killings happened because it started in 2016. I was already with the Senate. So there are various reasons, I think. I think they already cited the lack of cooperation of witnesses, although that's not an excuse because it's not for the witnesses na sila mismo ang maghahanap ng ebidensya. And we should understand them na syempre takot sila, lalo na at that time. And there are ways, what I'm saying is that there are ways for investigators to access possible witnesses. There are ways to get their trust. And not just say, wala kasi, hindi kasi nagko-cooperate yung pamilya, hindi nagko-cooperate yung mga biktima. That's not an excuse. Now, with 52 priority cases, that's inexcusable. So let's hear from DOJ. What exactly? Kasi may mechanism na nga, yung Interagency Council, which is headed by DOJ. But I maintain there were a lot of EJKs. And I can even say that even yung sinasabing 20,000 plus as part of that accomplishment report from 2016 to November of 2017, that can even be a underreported, and especially that nasan yung data from 2018 up to the end of 2022. It can be said that it was in 2016 and 2017 na talagang marami. That's the height, kasagsagan ng mga killings na yan. Kasi nga, madalas naririnig yung mga pronouncements ni Mr. Duterte. And perhaps by 2018 and after 2022, hindi na ganun karami. But then, 20,000 plus is just, I think, the minimum. And then how come there is such a measly number of cases na prioritize and then ganun pa yung naging resulta hanggang ngayon ay 3 lang na convictions involving 5 victims. So 0.08%. So what about 98.2%? What happens to them? Meron pa ba talagang mga nag-iimbestiga? That is what worries me. Pagkatapos ng 52 priority cases na yon, na hindi naman naging successful yung iba, then how are they now investigating the rest of the killings? Is there really an investigation into those other killings?
Can we still determine the EJ case actually? Can we still make a determination of that?
Figures?
The victims, for example. Can we still determine how many or who are they? Or
We can still determine, but I just don't know kung magiging kompleto po yun. Because, you know, after several years that have passed, mas maganda po sana kung mas maaga yung pag-iimbestiga para mas madali yung pagkuha ng mga statistics, pagkuha ng mga pwedeng testimonya ng mga probable witnesses. Because for as long as tumatagal, lalong dadami siguro yung mga so-called cold cases. So there are so many cold cases kasi walang foundation in the investigation. Sa SOCO reports pa lang, may mga diferensya. And then yung mga narinig ho natin kanina na minamanipulate pa yung mga reports na yan. And then there's no immediate really on the spot on site investigation. So the more we prolong this, it's the lesser chances of really achieving substantial level of justice for the victims.
Tony Neri?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Maganda yung tanong bakit nagkakonti ng kaso? Kung nag-imbestiga lang, Mr. Chair, ang PNP, hindi aabot sa ganito, itayahantong. Kung ang Department of Justice, lahat na nakikinig dito, kung nag-preliminary investigation kayo, nag-inquest kayo, hindi tayo aabot dito. Ayon sa batas, Mr. Chair, hindi ko kasi narinig ang sagot ng DOJ dito kung tama ako o mali. Tama ba ang interpretasyon ko? Yun ang tanong ko sa DOJ. Ayon sa batas natin, pag may pinatay o ginawang krimen ang isang tao, dapat kasuhan ka. Ang maka-absuelto lang sa'yo o maka-declare sa'yo na guilty or not guilty, korte lang. Walang poder ang PNP na magsabing, walang krimen na nangyari kasi nanlaban pala . Ang DOJ, walang poder na magsabi na dismiss namin kasi nanlaban pala . Kasi may probable cause, Mr. Chair. Yun namang hinahanap ng DOJ sa preliminary investigation o sa inquest . Probable cause. Ano pang probable cause ang hahanapin ng DOJ? Inamin ng pulis, pumatay ako. So, hindi pwedeng i-absuelto ng DOJ o PNP na self-defense pala. No, the jurisprudence, and DOJ knows it, and the PNP legal knows this. The jurisprudence is, doon ka sa korte mag-claim ng self-defense. Wala talagang choice ang DOJ at PNP na kasuhan ka and file an information against you. Pag sa korte na yan, Mr. Chair, doon na sana maungkat yun, bakit ang death certificate heart attack? Bakit ang death certificate bronchopneumonia? Di ba? Doon sana ma-trash out yun . Pero they've continued to assert na may poder na ang DOJ at ang PNP na mag-acquit ng mga akusadong umaming pumatay. Which is strange, no? Kasi nabanggit ko the last time yung Councilor Kadungog case na this time around baliktad. Ang nakabaril, yung target ng EJK at ngayon, na-find out na pulis pala yung nakasakay sa motor sabi ng DOJ, naniniwala kaming self-defense lang yon. Pero wala kaming magawa Kailangan isampa namin ang kaso sa iyo sa korte. Doon mo claim yung self-defense. So yun talagang isang loophole dito na nangyayari. So sana, and I'm very glad that the committee is doing this, para hindi na sana maulit ito. Na next time, pag may nagsabi na pumatay ako, General, kasi self-defense, sabihin ni General, pasensya bata. Failan kita ng information. Tingin ko naman ma-acquit ka dun Pero, failan kita ng information kasi pumatay ka. Yun yung nangyari. Ngayon, Mr. Chair, sana hindi na maulit. Pero I have to admit, Mr. Chair, medyo nangamba ako kanina. Kanina pa sa simula, si Congressman Keith Flores, si Congressman Adjong, at marami, at recently, si Chair Benny, kayo po, Mr. Chair, ang paikot-ikot na nagtanong sa pulis, tingin nyo ba mali yung ginawa noon? Hindi makasagot. Parang, akala ng sa zona ng presidente, sabi niya, iba na yung kanyang operations. Tapos, ni isa sa kanila, walang sumagot na, mali nga yun. Dapat nga hindi ulitin yun. Bago na ngayon ito yung pinagbago. Kaya ako natatakot The moment the PNP officers continue to believe na very successful ang tokhang, very successful ang anti-drug operations sa kanilang teritoryo, may danger talagang maulit ito. As long as the PNP and the PNP and the PDEA and whoever na involved doon will not accept the fact na mali yun. Hindi dapat ginawa yon. The chances na maulit yan ay very, very high. I was really frustrated na kanina, walang amin, na parang I don't have the data, I don't have the information. Tapos paligoy-ligoy yung sagot. You notice that, Mr. Chair. Notice that ni Congressman Ako. Bakit paligoy-ligoy? May duda ba sila, Mr. Chair, na tama yon? Doon ako nangamba, Mr. Chair. And I hope hinahanap kanina yung mga dokumento na yon, sana forthcoming. I heard the PNP chief kanina, Marbil, said to the question of Congresswoman Arlene Brosas na the PNP is open. Pag humingi kayong dokumento, ibibigay namin. Pag ang biktima hihingi ng death certificate, ibigay namin. Blatter report, ibigay namin yon. Yun ang commitment ng PNP kanina and hopefully matupad yan, Mr. Chair. So for me, that is the short and long answer to the question, bakit konti ang nakasuhan? And I would really like to also hear sana naman na bakit dinidismiss ng DOJ 52 cases. Para sa akin, Mr. Chair, may pulis na pumunta sa DOJ. Sinabi ko, pinatay ko yon, totoo, self-defense. Ano pang iimbestigahan ng DOJ? Sa totoo lang, Mr. Chair. Umamin ka pala Kakasuhan kita, doon ka magdepensa. Di ba? Umamin na yung 52, nakapatay ako. Pero nanlaban kasi, sige, tama ka naman, bata. Sige lang, file ko lang information, magdepensa ka sa korte because only courts can decide whether one goes to prison or doesn't. Not the DOJ, not the PNP, not the PDEA, no one, not even President Duterte can decide who goes to prison and who doesn't. Only courts can do that. And I hope we can achieve this sa hearing na to, Mr. Chair, at hindi na maulit ito. Whether it's 6,000 or 20,000 or 30,000, it's just one death too many. And we hope that the PNP will have to admit that that is a tragedy and a horror that must not be repeated ever again. Maraming salamat, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Attorney.
For my last few questions, I'd like to address this to former Senator Laila De Lima. Kasi naalala ko nung one of our first few hearings based dun sa data ng Philippine Communications Office ay mabot nga sa 20,000 ang figure ng deaths related to the drug war from July 2016 hanggang November 2017. Tapos nakasort yun, yung directly attributable sa police, tapos yung mga other deaths, halimbawa yung mga vigilante killings. Tapos naging bahagi po ng statement ni former senator na maging dun sa mga other killings, kasamang vigilante killings, ay meron din na makakonect pa rin pabalik sa police. So, based sa ano din yung mga naging investigations before or available data, meron po ba tayong masasite na mga cases na nag-link nga talaga dun sa ilang mga vigilante killings sa police?
Insofar as the Senate investigation, as I mentioned, and I think many of you know that I could only serve for a few months as Senate chairperson dahil nga pinalitan na nga po ako as a Senate Committee on Human Rights, on Justice and Human Rights chairperson by, I think it was September. I initiated the investigation in August 2016 after my privilege speech in July. Pero nung by September, pagkatapos ko pong present si Edgar Matobato, hindi na po ako yung chair. Now, I'm not sure, or I think I can say that these are not part of the records of the Senate because after po akong napalitan, ang alam ko, yung mga mga available CHR witnesses nga po, there were about 12 or 13 of them. Dalawa po sa kanila ay naipresent ko na nung ako pa yung chairperson. Pero nung iba na po yung chairperson, hindi na po pinatawag. Although they were available and they had affidavits. And then, ang pinatawag na lang ay yung mga napangalanan dun sa Hino section ng Davao Police na wala naman talagang umamin noon. Nung si Las Cañas, nung una, hindi rin umamin. It was only subsequently na binaliktad niya yung storya niya. No, so it's not found in the Senate investigation, but the basis of that kind of a statement na yung mga yung mga vigilante killings could also be at least, well, not all of them. I just don't know what is the extent, whether it's significant enough or konti lang or what. This can be associated and linked also to police. My basis are various articles, various literature by various media here and abroad. May ilan-ilan ho mga articles about that. Na meron din silang mga nai-interview na mga insiders or well, most of them would not reveal their identity. But I got it from these articles, which to me were credible narrations or stories. Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Chair, tungkol naman sa Davao Drug War, dahil nga ito ang tinuturing na model na inadopt sa buong bansa. Ang scope po ba nito ay within Davao City lamang o meron ding ibang mga lugar sa Davao region na naging bahagi din ng saklaw ng ganong tipo ng approach dun sa drug problem?
There were some mention about that it's not only focused on Davao City. But nung sa inquiry po namin, nag-focus po kami sa Davao City because that's the more or less the validated information that we got from our own sources, including yung mga kinausap namin mga hitmen na would not also reveal their identities officially. Yung mga clandestine meetings namin sa kanila in various places in Davao. There was some, so kahit na may mention din na it's not just concentrated in Davao, although karamihan, of course, Davao, hindi yan naging scope nung DDS inquiry ng CHR because nakafocus kami sa Davao City.
And based on those investigations, Mr. Chair, can we trace kailan ba talaga nagsimula ang ganong bloody approach dun sa drug problem? Kaya pa ba nating mabalikan parang kailan ba talaga nagpatupad ng ganon sa Davao? Para ma-historicize po natin na bago ito naging national problem, nagsimula yan sa isang lugar, tas kailan ba talaga yan ginawa?
It's part of my notes. It's part of my notes because the killings, the DDS killings, actually, the killings from 1998 or 1999 up to 2000, yung in-investigate namin up to 2008.
Okay. And Mr. Chair, dahil as mentioned pala, decades na bago pa pala ito ginawang nationwide approach, matagal na bago ito sinample sa Davao. So, meron po bang mga big fish, as we can say, na napanagot din, na nakulong gamit ang ganong tipo ng drug war?
Yung resolution po ng CHR, nung wala na po ako, I left 2010, but the CHR resolution was issued in 2012. Isa po sa mga recommendations doon, because CHR has only recommendatory powers in so far as filing of cases, is to further investigate and, if warranted, prosecute si Mayor Duterte and some officials. So this was the recommendation to the Office of the Ombudsman. Now, the Office of the Ombudsman was able to file cases against certain police officers, but they did not include Mr. Duterte. I can surmise, based on two grounds, that it was he still had presidential immunity, and number two, I think that they tried to verify from the local CHR then, and the local CHR said na chismis lang daw yung DDS. But they did not go further than that, than validating from that CHR local official. So hindi namin alam if they tried also to ask and validate other possible sources of that of the information, lalo na yung mga ako yung shinare ko pong notes with the CHR, nandun po yung mga pangalan.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair. So, before I end, Mr. Chair, kapansin-pansin pala talaga na nung sinimula, nung 2016, itong war on drugs, yung double barrel tokhang, hindi pala siya bagong concept at may mga nagpatupad na pala nito matagal na sa isang lugar at dinala sa buong bansa yung ganong terror actually para lang yung mga tao ay madala sa takot para hindi magi-involved man lang, no, gahibla dun sa illegal na droga. So Mr. Chair, nakita natin na hindi talaga dapat actually takasan nung ilan sa mga in-invite natin supposedly na mga resource persons. Halimbawa nga si former President Rodrigo Duterte at former PNP Chief Bato de la Rosa, no. Lumalabas talaga ilang beses pa yung kanilang mga pangalan. So all the more na dapat ay tanggapin nila yung imbitasyon at dumalo sila bilang paggalang doon sa proceedings ng komite na ito. Yun na lang muna, Mr. Chair. Salamat.
Salamat, Congressman Noel.